Good evening. God, lost my voice already. Good evening, we are live. It is a Thursday evening, and that can mean only one thing: the UK Colts fans are back, and it's end of season review. I mean, not technically at the end of the season, but does anybody care about the Jacksonville game? Just while I wait for Nathan to join, a few talking points tonight. Like I say, end of season review, sort of catch up what's going on, where do we go, how do we stop being mediocre. We'll talk about AR coming out with what sounds like seriously chronic back problems, which is not good for your franchise QB. Zaire Franklin making the Pro Bowl. I mean, congratulations to him. Does it prove a bit of a deeper point that Pro Bowl's pretty meaningless and probably one of the top tackle leaders in the league, but not in a good way. We'll talk about the coaching staff, who's really in charge at the top. No communication to the fans whatsoever. No communication to anyone, it seems like. We'll talk about the Athletic interview that came out. And we just got a few things to talk about: the AFC South and obviously the Pat McAfee Civil War. The Colts, and joining me now is a man. Whenever I think about Gus Bradley giving me nightmares and I wake up sweating in the night, I just imagine this man singing Bread of Heaven on the top of Mount Snowdon. That's Nathan. How's it going, brother?
Hello, mate. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It is a Happy New Year because we lost a game to the worst team in the NFL. And we've slightly moved up the draft board, so I suppose it's better than 15th.
I mean, it wouldn't be December without, or in recent years, it wouldn't be December without Indy losing a game that it really shouldn't lose in drastic fashion. So, yeah, a pretty normal entry into New Year for Colts fans again.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got a few talking points tonight. We'll start with a quick recap of the game. Not that I want to. I don't know what it is about when Joe Flacco plays. We just refuse to play any defense. But I mean, I missed the first 10 minutes because of life, and then I just turned it off because it was crap. Did you see anything more? Do you want to add anything more to
that? I watched the whole game until there was about 1 minute 20 remaining, and then I turned it off. Just a complete, team in free fall moment from a coaching standpoint, and especially from a defensive standpoint. I mean, the Giants have one good player, and I don't think Gus double-teamed him once the whole game. And, the young prodigy, Neighbors, he looks like an absolute dude. Completely torched the Colts. And, yet again, mate, Gus just stands there and watches.
I'll hold your Gus Bradley thoughts for now. Like you say, one good player who the Colts, anyone with a common sense was interested in, Malik Neighbors, but there were serious talks of him coming to the Colts last draft.
There was, yeah.
Did they pick before? They must have picked before us, right?
They picked 7th overall, I believe. And there is actual footage on Hard Knocks last year of Ballard calling them to ask them would they trade. And of course they said no. And I bet they're glad they said no, because Neighbors just looks like a special player.
I mean, how hard did he really try? I mean, it's probably like when work asks me if I want to do overtime, I sort of don't say yes and I don't say no. How hard did Ballard really try to? We don't know. Let's start then. We've got a couple of talking points you wanted to bring up, and we'll start with probably the biggest news coming out of Indiana recently. Anthony Richardson, chronic back problems, serious back problems. It's just soreness, we was told. And it was spasm.
I mean, yeah, this is a clinic in how not to be a head coach and do interviews, right? Like, how can you get it so bad?
Yeah.
But obviously, let's go back to the start for anybody who hasn't seen this, anybody who's watching who's might be thinking Richardson's injured again, because I'm sure you're not the only one. Anthony Richardson was reported as not practicing. Shane goes to the podium. It starts with him, and we're told that Anthony's experienced some soreness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll put a question to you in between my explanation. This year we've gone through tap out gate, and we've gone through lots of stuff. How did that make you feel?
I just fed up. Just fed up, and I mean, I was privileged enough to go on a Giants podcast, the Big Blue, I think it's called. Forgive me if I got that wrong, guys, but I actually said in a bit of a joking manner, because they were saying, "Oh, who do you want to start between Richardson and Flacco?" I was like, "Well, I started whinging about our team. I was like, it's easy for me to say that at 7 and 8. You guys are 2 and 13. I feel like a bad team at 7 and 8 sort of thing. It's a bit rich, but like I said, it's just we've I don't even know. I don't even know how to sum it up.
So I like that answer, right? Because I think it adds to the drama of this story developing.
Mm-hmm.
So Colts fans are told that our franchise savior basically can't be bothered to practice because he's a little bit sore. Bless him. Takes me back to Peyton playing through a neck injury, Luck playing a whole season with a torn labrum, and Anthony is sore, bless him. So let's rest Anthony.
Yeah.
Turns out
He can't walk.
The guy can't walk around his house. He's crawling to move, and it's now come out, and I imagine the Colts did not want this to come out from Anthony's mouth, that he may have chronic, like, spine disc spasm injuries. What are we playing at, Harrison? You need to keep me on this AR train, because I'm scared, man.
Just before we get into that, good friend of the show, Colts fans, Cole is watching. For those of you who don't know Cole, he is all over X as a Colts content curator, and I think he's close to being in a civil war with Pat McAfee, but we'll see. Snowstorms expected on Sunday in Indy, but I'll be there even as I battle sickness. Yeah, really regret being a super fan right now. And I think, like you say, before we get on to different topics, and just to sort of end this little section out, and you've probably seen the meme, and it's the Like a Prayer Choir version, Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's The Last Stand. And I'm sort of willing to die on the Anthony Richardson hill, because I can't go back to another backup QB, veteran, washed up. I just can't do it, and I will gladly sit here and fight everyone who's just willing to give up on the kid. But oh god, do we not think before we speak? Like, I'm sure you were taught as a kid. I know I was. Think before you speak, and just make sure it is what you want to say it is, because media training, right? Media, but
where is the media training on the kid? And I mean, first off, welcoming Cole. Really glad to see you, man. Was gutted not to be able to catch up with you when you joined the show recently. But Cole, I think, absolutely capitulates what a super fan is for the team that we love. So huge respect on Cole for just how much he, flies the flag for Indy and puts himself in, the space world where emotions are super high, and he just remains calm, cool, and collected through the whole thing. So that's a big shout out to Cole. But on the media training front, man, I think Shane Steichen's the one in the most need of some media training, because I think it's left me believing that we're just going to be constantly lied to when it comes to injuries. They lied to us with luck. They've lied to us throughout recent years, and this is just the recent example.
So you excellently casually segued that for me. Coaching staff, the next point. And before we get onto the coaching staff, anyone watching, just like, share, subscribe. This is a Colts Thursday therapy session. Spread the words. We are here to vent. This is a safe space. We all hate we all hate Gus Bradley, so don't worry. This is a safe space, and our Lord and Saviour Jack Doyle will be watching over us in distaste. But yeah, the coaching staff. I mean, it's not surprising Shane Steichen is not great in front of the media when he comes from the school of Nick Sirianni. He's not great in front of the media, but he's pretty good at getting a locker room going. I feel like at the minute, Shane Steichen's a bit like that team leader who nobody actually listens to. And that's all I can say about him.
You've hit the nail on the head. I've been doing a lot of thinking since Sunday about, what is truly going wrong in the Colts organization right now. And I really do believe that the team don't respect him. And I think it stemmed from, again, if you guys aren't aware, the awesome Indy beat writers questioned Shane on some of the rumours that the team, are not fully bought in. They're kind of showing up to work late, put simply. And Shane Steichen almost agrees with the reporter and says, yes, it's very hard to be on time regularly, and, everybody's held to a standard. And I'm thinking, we're not professional sports stars, Harrison, right?
Yeah.
But if your boss told you could be late to work, would you be?
Yeah, too right. I'll be the first one out.
This is what I'm saying. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry where preparation and vision is key. And we have a active team roster right now that I don't think is even getting repercussions if they're late.
No.
This is to say that at the podium with the game that's just happened was just insanity to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just what an absolute insult and a kick in the teeth to the fans who work 12-hour shifts in shit jobs that they don't like, and the guys who work on the frontline services in America, the police, the fire, the hospital crews, Americans love the armed forces, them guys who work just constantly.
Mm-hmm.
All for Shane Steichen go, Oh yeah, just our guys turn up whenever they want. Like,
Yeah,
what an absolute kick in the teeth to the paying fan who, like we see, American super fans are extreme, like far more extreme than us guys over here watching soccer. You got the guy Colts Caveman, all the other guys who dress up massive, body paint, spend a life invested in these teams, and then your head coach goes, "Yeah, we just don't really care, mate." It's the big Ange approach, isn't it? It's the big Ange approach. Just it is who we are, mate.
Yeah. And I guess when we talk about coach and stuff, we've talked a lot about Shane there.
Mm-hmm.
But is there another coach you maybe wanted to ask me about?
Man, all I'm gonna say is 1 second, because I have to just double check something. I have to Google it. This is great content for anyone who's watching. Yeah, I'm just going to see what this guy's up to, because all I'm going to say is I wanted Bubba Ventroy as defensive coordinator.
Okay, yeah.
He's currently football
Isn't that Cleveland?
He is at Cleveland, is the special teams coordinator and assistant head coach.
Okay.
I wanted him. I thought he'd earned his shot with the job he'd done with special teams. And instead we went for some random guy off the streets. And it's that same. What annoys me is it's the same deer in headlights expression Frank Wright used to have when you're watching Gus Bradley. And I'm like, does he know what he's calling, or he's just saying cover free. Like, I'm just baffled. What is this guy's team meetings?
Yeah, and we've said for kind of 17 weeks in a row that we would like to understand, what what Ballard especially sees in Gus Bradley. But Shane was asked today what his thoughts were on Gus Bradley, and he, was very complimentary of his experience and his scheme and how he coaches, etc. I mean, are we watching the same game on Sunday? The missed tackles, the just complete jogging around, Drew Lock's rushing touchdown. EJ Speed had his ankles broken by a guy running what looked like 3 miles per hour. And for any stat men amongst us, in Gus's tenure, we've been ranked 29th, and currently we're 27th. And I loved your point, Harrison, about, the paying fan and the loyal fan. We're being told by our head coach that that's good enough. It's just insane to me.
For me, you can always spot turning points in seasons. And it was clear this defense in the first 3-4 weeks was not responding to Gus Bradley. And it should have just been enough. There on what did we give up? Over 1,000-yard scrimmage in the first 3 games?
Yep.
How is that not enough to get sacked? It is just absolutely mind-boggling that you go, yeah, this is okay.
Yeah, at all levels, or general management. I mean, even Jim Irsay, how is he tuning into games or watching them live, thinking, yeah, this is a good product of football, when he's used to watching, players like Dwight Freeney, Bob Sanders, bloody Robert Mathis, to name some recent coach superstars. we're miles away from having a player like that at the moment on defense.
Yeah, and I mean, you've sort of like again segued nicely, but just before like we do segue, again, we like to relate things back to soccer, and we relate to what do we know, and we try and compare and make it compatible with what we know and what we see. And a while ago, when Arteta first took over Arsenal, and we lost to Liverpool like 3-0, you know, and this is the difference in like media training and just absolutely nailing a press conference rather than fucking it up. He was asked by a member of the press, is that an acceptable loss for you? And he turned around and said, well, the technical skills will get there. They're going to take time. We're going to take a while to get there, but I couldn't be prouder of the effort. The effort that Liverpool put in was matched by us. We just need to work on the technicals. And it's just sort of that thing of like, there's a vision. He knows the vision. He's got a vision. And, you know, we'll touch on the Athletic article. That was just a little segue. Sorry, just a sidebar, but your perfect segue. It's just as simple as that, mate. Who's in charge? This is the biggest problem for me. Who is in charge of the Indianapolis Colts? Because it's not Jim, because he's not. His tweets on Twitter are just robotic AI tweets of giveaways, which, yes, good. A lot of owners don't do that, but again, that's not him tweeting. We heard in the off-season, was it this off-season he was in bad health?
Unfortunately, yeah. During the season too, he was in bad health. So hope he's safe and well. You know, just want to say that.
Yeah, of course. You know, Chris is just walking around like drinking out of a cup like this, going, "We nearly made it." It's just like, who's in charge? Who is running the show? It feels like no one's running the show.
Yeah, so we really want to talk about the article released today by two of my favorite Colts writers in Zach Kiefer and James Boyd of The Athletic, where they're talking about obviously Ballard's tenure and so on, but they've also got a current veteran Colts player who is unnamed speaking in the article, and you know he's saying that I would really urge you to read it. Anybody watching, go read it. See if you can get a free trial of The Athletic if you're not already subscribed to it. But it's captivating to read, right? But the player's kind of quoted saying that there's absolutely no vision in the team from the top to bottom. There's no direction, and they've also touched on what happened with Richardson's benching, and they've kind of admitted that did completely rock the locker room. So, but look, man, we've been heavily critical of Chris Ballard, and I'm happy to have that debate with anyone because I want to be a winner, and that's why I'm a Colts fan. You know, my early memories of the Colts were, you know, the AFC demon with number 18 leading us the whole way. So that's where I think we should be, and I don't think Ballard's even got us, you know, halfway to that. Even at our better years, you know, his record, I believe, is 69 wins, 69 losses.
See, I think is it not 61 wins, 69 losses?
Let's see if I can.
I know it's somewhere in that part. I might have misread it, and it might be 69.
I've actually got the article open because I knew we were going to talk about it. So let me see if I can find the stats. It's a huge article. I'm kind of like a rabbit in a haystack here. I don't know. Let's move it on, and I'll see if I can scroll through.
Yeah, it's. I mean, any inclination? God, I couldn't get that word out then. Who this veteran player is?
I don't know, and it certainly hasn't come out. I mean, I think my best guess would be Kenny Moore, or DeForest Buckner, because Buckner rightfully called it what it was in an interview 2 or 3 days ago, and he was at the press box and he said, we shit the bed, and I can't think of a better way for one of the Colts, top 5 assets to describe how this current era of indie football goes. We shit the bed every year.
Yeah, it's nothing new. Yeah. It just feels like I say. I think this off season, and like we say, I hope Jim's in good health. But it's got to be time to hand it over to Carly Ursay Gordon. I think Ursay Gordon. I think her last name is. But
yeah, and I think it's been interesting this past week. A lot of media outlets have started to kind of say it as it is for Indianapolis. How we're dysfunctional, and this is almost a carbon copy every year. And I was listening to Heed the Call podcast, walking my dog earlier, and even they were saying this is a visionless team, it's a directionless team that kind of goes through the same slumps every single year. And unfortunately, and I'm sure we'll come on to this, because I was going to ask you about like potential excitement and stuff for next year. But if Ballard isn't sacked in the next 2 weeks, then what have people got to be excited for? Because we know the next year is going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, great point. And just, will we ever win the AFC South again?
Look, the answer to that is yes. I think, but again, it goes back to my recent point there of unless there is widespread change, that I just don't see that coming. I don't see us beating Houston twice a year. I mean, we barely come out of our divisional games alive in the last 3 years, and I'm still of the belief that we will lose on Sunday. Jacksonville love coming to Indy. They love ruining a party, and I hope the atmosphere in the stadium is incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
And I hate to admit that, but I really do. I read that it's the Fan Appreciation Day, so fans are getting some scarves, on their chairs, like knitted scarves, and you think, really? Like, it's almost like Jim's going to come down, in the amphitheater and say, "Are you not entertained?" It's like, no, we're not entertained, Jim. No one's entertained by this, and we need to, we need to see change.
I hope it is absolutely ruthless in the Lucas Oil Stadium. I hope it's horrible, because if management ain't going to hold them to account, then you'll be held accountable by the fans. And just at the end of the day, just for me, whoever is in charge has to see that we've been out vocalized at every home game.
Yeah.
Fans are selling the tickets because not because they particularly hate the team, but they're just fed up.
Yeah, and
they're just fed up of watching it.
You know, if we look at the trajectory of where the AFC South is right now, we've got Indianapolis, who, you know, Richardson, if he misses Sunday, he did not practice today,
No.
which is never a good sign this close to a game. You know, so Indianapolis is without his starting quarterback, who's still developing, still having struggles, you know, is now going to be painted as this injury-prone prospect again. He's going to have to work through all of that with a defense that can't play, receivers that can't catch, and no tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Houston, who have managed to get into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to do necessarily well, all due respect to Houston. But next year, Stroud's going to want to prove it. That whole locker room's going to want to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, T-Law, the prodigal son, comes back with Brian Thomas Jr., who's set the league on fire this year. That's going to be a scary offense when they eventually get a new head coach. And then you've got Tennessee, who, we could see Shedeur Sanders come into the South. We could see Cam Ward come into the South. There's a world that exists, mate, where the Bills are going to be resting their starters on Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drake May is good enough to go and beat a team of backups, yeah?
Yeah.
For New England. We saw that. He tore us apart, right?
Yeah.
If New England win on Sunday and Tennessee lose, they got the first overall pick. we could be seeing star power come into the South. And Indy doesn't yet know if we've even got our starting QB.
That's crazy.
It's not a nice place to be.
It's 2 years of the Richardson experiment. One, if you want to be real. And I just think the franchise, the front three, let's call them, Gus, Ballard, Jim, Chris, and Shane, have just killed it. It's just done. Like they've absolutely killed his career. They've quite happily thrown. I say throw. They've launched him to the wolves, and it's just. I think, unfortunately, the experiment with him's done.
So, I personally believe that Anthony will get another year, and I think he should. I think a lot of fans would agree with me that he should get another year. I think Shane should also get another year, and maybe I'll be tortured for saying that, but I really do. But, if we think of an equation here, right, 2 and 2 makes 4. Does the Superman dual threat quarterback who can't yet make basic passes being 2, and then the other 2 being chronic back spinal problem potentially, make a nice equation for you? Because it certainly doesn't for me.
I mean, for me, like I know everyone has a dream, but if you're crawling around your house and you're having chronic back pain at the age of 22, stop playing. Just stop playing for your own mental and physical sake. And I don't want to see another Andrew Luck situation. Like, I'd quite happily, if he said, "Do you know what? This isn't worth my health," I wouldn't hold it against him.
Same, yeah. We've always tried to advocate for, mental health, especially when we chat weekly, and who could blame the guy? And maybe Anthony's just done a really bad job of telling us what it is when he's got 50 mics and 200 cameras pointed at him. But if it truly is that, like, just talking from a common sense point of view, how can he like be this superstar guy who's got to put, you know, the franchise and the city on his back and has got to run up the middle in tough 2-point conversion scenarios when he's waking up the next day and he can't move?
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's just, you know, like I say, for me, he's 22 and he's made some mistakes as a kid who's entered the league far too early. And nobody's ever been, I don't think anybody has ever made him learn, which is unfortunate because now he's paying the price. Probably didn't have the wisest people advising him. No, just go straight to the league. It'd be right. Yeah, let's cash in while we're hot. That's what America does. Cash in while they're hot, and as soon as it's not hot, it's see you later. Like I say, I want, now I've calmed down. I'm happy to give Shane a year with an actual competent defensive coordinator, and I'm happy to give Anthony Richardson a year. But if you're in chronic back pain and you're having to crawl around your house at the age of 22, mate, it's just not worth it. That's all I can say. Is just like, and that's not me saying that just to get rid of him. I'd rather grind through this and he does become Lamar Jackson, because we've seen it. He can be that.
Yeah, we've go run the tape, as they say. You know, me and you have been on the AR train, and we've come on here even after some of his toughest games, and have tried to remind everyone that this is a project and this is going to come with lots of ugly. But yeah, I had a horrible sinking feeling when I read that quote, because it just reminded me of Luck and Peyton and everybody else. Ryan Kelly, bless him, who's just constantly injured, and constantly plays through it. Yeah, it's, again, like, how do you not pick that up on the medicals? He said he's had them since 8th grade. How do you draft a guy who has chronic back issues? I don't know, man. I don't know. I give up. I give up.
Yeah. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. I suppose it is good news if you're this person, but if you're this person alone, how? just quite simply, mate. How does someone on what we 27th overall defense?
Yep, currently.
How does that person make the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, and let's try and be two-sided in this debate. So anybody watching who is a fan of the Colts, right, and a fan of Zaire Franklin, the guy has led the Colts and the league in tackles over the last 3 years. He's doing it again currently. But this is a guy who I fully think, plays for himself. His podcast has shown that. Huge news in indie world right now, where footage of Zaire's podcast has come out where he's quoted along the lines of, saying that he really wants to play a bad team like New York Giants, because he can stat pad, and he wants to get himself to the Pro Bowl, not the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl, and then gets quite literally embarrassed. We thought our group chat lit up when Zaire makes a tackle and screams, "I am an absolute savage." the next play, they run a 3rd and 9 through the guy because he can't tackle. It's a mystery, and when you look at the linebackers who were in the group with him, Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, you kind of got to ask yourself, how has this guy got there?
It's just, I mean, one, the Pro Bowl's always been a load of shite. I don't care what anyone says. It's stupid, and they need to just get rid of it. Have something. Have a charity event. Have a game of flag football charity event or something, rather than the Pro Bowl. Like, these are all the best players that didn't make the Super Bowl. Well, what's the fucking point in that?
Well, recently, as anybody who still watches it may know, it has become a flag football game with Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. So Zaire might look like the greatest of all time because you're not actually going to need to make physical tackles on anyone. He can just stand there and, get his podcasts and views or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's a really weird situation because, like, usually, you'd be rooting for a guy like, Quentin Nelson's made it as well. Shout out Q, 7 seasons in a row, Pro Bowler. Jim Irsay tweeted earlier, first Colts player to ever do that. Which is insane. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, our superstar running backs, made it as well. So shout out Taylor. But yeah, I think everything that's happened with Zaire this year is just, I don't know. Look, you can only call what you see, right? And every week I see a team that is constantly on the bad side of time of possession, and a linebacking core that can't cover and constantly has missed tackles.
Yeah. And okay, you said, for fairness, let's make this a little bit of debate. And I'd like to say, before the middle and end of this season, I've been quite a big fan of Zaire, frankly. Quite a big fan. He does some awesome 4th down stuff. He's good in the run game. Well, he was. But like we say, mate, this is, so this hurts because this is a player who has come through the ranks, has worked his way up to be a starting linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts, and not just the starting linebacker, and was handed the mantle when we had another player with serious back problems in, Shaq Leonard. Look how that went. And
yeah,
it's all just like, I feel like I'm living in the matrix of just, this feels like it's on repeat.
Yeah, it really does. And yeah.
But just to say, like we said, I think we said, and we sort of talked about a couple of weeks ago, you're doing a podcast in the middle of the season. Why on earth is that your priority? I had to try really hard not to swear then, but why is that priority? You're a player. I love Pittman Jr., but he's running a farm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get players are allowed to have lives, and running a farm and having a podcast isn't going out doing balloons and drugs on the weekend and going to strip clubs, etc. But Michael Pittman's had back problems all year. Why are you still working on your own farm?
Yes, this is a great question, and I think I think that's been my biggest issue when I think about the whole thing. It's like, for me, I believe that this podcast has been set up now so that he has something when he retires, right?
Yeah.
He wants to build the following slowly, and kind of secure his bag for retirement. But the guy couldn't get on the field under Matt Eberflus.
Yeah,
Literally couldn't get on the field. And you think to yourself, is this why? And look, I'm not taking it away from him. He's run the league in terms of tackles for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's insane, and props to him. Like, we're talking like a legendary run.
Yeah.
And maybe that people will look back at, and especially non-indie fans will look back at and think, look, God, remember number 44? This guy's a dog, and all this and that. But we watch like every minute of every week, and is that what you see? I don't know. I don't think it is, and I hate to say that.
And what good is it if your defense is ranked 27th, 29th, or 29th?
And he hasn't won a thing.
Yeah.
Man, we haven't won ourselves for 10 years. And we've like, 2 days ago, he was at the podium, he was asked about this statement, right? About the podcast and stuff. Gave a very kind of professional answer of how, he shouldn't be saying things like that, and, needs to be better. Today, the podcast Twitter account has tweeted like, boom, everybody who's with me, this is for you. What? Why do you think that was needed? Like, what do you think the response is going to be to that? When 48 hours ago, I may even have said it today, I'm not sure there's been so much news. You're admitting that maybe you should be doing your talking on the field and not on a podcast when you get beat by, a 2-3 New York Giants team, and not just beat, embarrassed.
45 points.
45 points by a team that's averaged 19 points all year. Drew Lock had a perfect passer rating.
Nearly
Drew
50
fucking
points.
Lock.
Nearly 50 points.
Yeah. And, making the Pro Bowl's obviously a huge thing, and, players bloody strive for that. But I think it shows, go look up the video today of Derrick Henry being told he's made the Pro Bowl. He's just emotionless, and he's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then Zaya's tweeting, kind of acting the fans, if you're not with me, screw you, sort of thing. It's like, you're meant to be a captain. I think that's what pisses me off the most, is this guy's meant to be the face of our defense. And, when you start like flipping off your fans, to me, A, captain, and B, you probably shouldn't be on the team.
Yeah, get out of here. And just to the next point is, I think this is interesting to speak about. Not because at least it's the biggest talking point, but I think we're both slightly different, but both probably agree in versions of events this season. Obviously, speaking tap out gate, McAfee, and responses, etc., etc. We won't go through it all again. But I still think the way Pat went about it was wrong. I understand what he was doing and where it was coming from a lot more. And obviously more Colts, ex-Colts alumni are speaking out like, what the fuck is going on? And then like you say, this is just sad. Pat McAfee is an indie legend. He's from Pittsburgh. He doesn't have to be. By all rights, he shouldn't like us. But he's just, for me. I'm still going to disagree with what he did. Well, with how he did it, Pat McAfee. But I think he made the excellent point of we're just fed up. I think that goes to the general point of, regardless of who you are, what you see of the Colts, how you see them, whoever you think was right in the whole situation through the whole season, whichever quarterback you wanted, everyone's just fed up.
Yeah, really well put. And yeah, I know we've kind of we've had different opinions, and we throughout this season on lots of these different outcomes. But I was so like passionately proud of Pat's statement on Sunday. I thought he articulated what it's like to be an Indianapolis fan right now perfectly. And like, this is a guy who has moved on from the Colts quite clearly. You know, he's cancelled his season ticket and whatnot. But you know, this is a guy who was like our one flag bearer on like national TV, and you know, would always talk about India and would always hype us up and stuff like that. But you know, we need to remember as well, Pat's a guy who's been in the locker room with, you know, a much better Colts team than we've got now, and you know, has played at a much higher standard than I think we see and have seen over the last 6 years as well. So, yeah, I retweeted it, and I was like, you know, this is a face of us fans who, you know, we should be getting behind. I don't think we should be going after him for it, because every word he said is true. You know, especially the part about you know, right at the end when he spoke about you know, the team having such big egos and such big mouths, and you know, they haven't won a single thing, and they're probably happy that they get to go on an early vacation. And there's some players that I can actually imagine that being true to. The flights are probably already booked.
Yeah.
You know, for Monday coming. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get on to Sunday's game, but do you really think that this roster is going to be up for Sunday?
I think they're gone, mate. I'm not. In all honesty, I'm probably not going to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't see any benefit to me, unless the only time I watch this game is if Sammy Slinger's playing. That's the only reason I watch this game, mate. Because otherwise, what's the point then?
Yeah.
We can't get in the playoffs, so there's no point playing Joe Flacco. And if you play Sammy Erlinger, you're not going to be at risk of going over like any bonuses you do Joe Flacco for appearances, etc. Richardson's obviously not going to play. It's probably the only time I watch the Colts if this game, if he's playing, mate, because I think you're like, once I read like Pat's tweet, I think I understand that he's just pissed off.
Yeah.
And like I said, again, I could just keep repeating myself, and I just think it's Richardson made a mistake, and it got blown way out of proportion. And then obviously Zaire Franklin's little podcast crew they didn't have to put Pat McAfee's face on that thumbnail.
Yeah, and who made that decision, innit? What a crazy decision.
To be honest, even after that, you know, Zaire Franklin could have come out and said, look, that was someone on my team. That wasn't me. They put it out before asking me whether that was okay to put out. And just where was the attempt to, like, you know, I think as people, we can always admit, and we always get it, and you always make that face when you realise that you were wrong and you need to be the bigger man. You always do that. Yeah, I can't do that.
Spot on.
You know, you go and smooth it over. You have a fight, you have a beer, you do whatever you need to do. You get over it because we're professionals and we need to work with these people. And for me, the fact that like Zaire or EJ have not messaged Pat privately and said, look, yeah, we fucked up here. You know, we was engaging cliques. It was, like I say, someone on our team. That person's now not doing that anymore. But all it took was one of them two to go, yeah, we fucked up. We apologise, we fucked up. Let us come on the McAfee show. We could sort this out or whatever. I don't care. Just But like I say, after reading that essay, I was just like, yeah, man, you've turned, like you said, the one person who rooted for the Colts every game turned up, was not just a, turn up for his little Ring of Honor ceremony and then never be seen again in Indianapolis. He had big offers to go to Vegas, his podcasting group, massive offers, New York. Now he's definitely going to be considering it. And I'm just hoping one of the Ursay people get on the phone to him like, look, them two are no longer playing for our team, but I suppose
I think the damage is done, though.
Yeah.
Just in case you were going to segue onto the next point there, man, I think the damage is done. And why I found his statement so, I think, relatable is the best word I can use, is like, there's been many points both on air this year and off air where, me and you and Elliot and Robbie have been, questioning like, what are we doing, right?
Yeah.
What are we doing following this team? And I think that's what I saw from reading Pat's words, was like, what is this great franchise that he used to play for come to?
Yeah. It's like, I suppose the big thing is, who do you think you are? Is what Pat said.
Yeah, you couldn't put it any right, and I think people will always get salty at him calling the team out, but I think you've summarized it perfectly. Like, who the hell are, Zaire and EJ to call out a guy who is, let's not forget, a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And it's laughable because it's so true. Like, who do you think you are?
Punter of the decade when he retired in halfway through the decade.
Yeah.
And this is not just, this is a good friend, a very good friend of Peyton Manning. This is a very good friend of Jim Irsay.
Yeah.
This is a very good friend of T.Y. Hilton. Look. Darius Butler, he has on his show quite a lot. This is a very, very highly rated. This isn't Eric Ebron. Do you know what I mean? This isn't some random lineman from like 15 years ago. This is, I just like, and like I say, whatever side you sat on before Franklin and his crew got involved, I think the thing is, when Pat called out Richardson, the Colts fans felt attacked. In a way, I don't know. Like I say, Colts people might have felt like, well, you're supposed to be like, you can protect this guy, you can do better than this. He's a kid, blah 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 blah. But then, as soon as Zaire Franklin got involved, I think everyone was like, well, what the fuck? Why are you getting what have you done that for? I think everyone just did a collective. Why have you done that?
Yeah. And like, Steichen was asked about it, I believe today or maybe 2 days ago, and said, like a kind of corporate-y style answer of, how things like that need to be, evaluated, and, people need to be smarter and stuff. And I'm like, dude, take the bull by the horns, like, ban it. Say to them, like, do you want to be a captain of this team? Yes. Okay, shut it down.
Yeah.
If you're not shutting it down, we're going to cut you.
Quite simply, you don't podcast or you play football, or you don't football. This is quite a simple, like I say, off season, do what you want. Do what you want in the off season. Talk smack about whoever you want, blah 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 blah. Okay. And like you say, for me, if I'm Chris Ballard, for starters, Zaire Franklin would have been in my office first thing, explaining to me what he thinks he's doing. And it'd be, apologize. I'd be like, listen, you're gonna apologize privately, publicly. I don't care. You're gonna do it. You're gonna smooth this over, and you're gonna shut down the podcast. If you don't, I don't care. See you later. We'll cut you. Not even bothered about us. Grant Stewart, you're getting called up, mate.
Yeah.
See you later. Bye. And do you know what? Take EJ Speed with you. I'll go and get a scrub from the street to play, because could you imagine that happening in Manning's day?
Oh, I mean, you know, I think Robert Mathis would have taken that into his own hands. I don't think he would have made it to the media. They would have been fighting probably.
I don't say that like, oh, we didn't use cell phones, we didn't do podcasts back in my day. Like, just from a locker room standpoint of, I try and think of like something how to make it make sense, but it'd be the equivalent of, how to put it, like Anthony Walker calling out Bob Sanders. Like I say, mental, just absolutely caused a riff, an unnecessary riff. But like, I think they might find out on Sunday. They might find out the hard way on Sunday.
Well, maybe this is too early. I imagine we're going to naturally segue onto it.
Go on.
So Brian Thomas Jr. didn't make the Pro Bowl. He's going to want to come and torch Indy. And he has been torching the league. He's put the league on notice this year. And you think of like a team who has just been embarrassed publicly. We've had a lot of our veteran players speaking openly about, the need for change, the kind of urgency for it. National media is talking about change. I just don't see the defense especially turning up to play. And I think we could get disgustingly beat again. And if I'm Ursay, and if I'm even still involved in any way, why would you want to win?
Yeah, there's no need to win this game. If anything, if you win this game, you just strengthen the Jaguars' position.
Good, and that's what I mean. That's not me being defeatist. Yeah. I'm saying, why do we want to give them potentially a better pick again when we could give them a worse pick and ultimately maybe get a better one ourselves? I don't know, man.
Like I said, let's. I mean, because my voice is going, so let's just end the show really on Sunday's game and just general chit chat with whatever you got left. Like I say, I think this is probably the first in-season game I have no feelings for. None, just absolutely none.
Yeah, it feels a bit like the Carson Wentz year, where it was winning in, and we were all so confident, weren't we? How can we lose this game? We're home and it's Jacksonville and whatnot, and I know obviously we're not in anything. We're not in the dance, and as I say, I have no doubt that half of the divas on our team have already got their holidays booked. But I have zero confidence that Indy wins on Sunday.
Yeah, like I say, mate, the only reason I'm going to watch this game is Sammy Erlinger's in. That's the only reason. And I feel horrendous saying that because I love Josh Downs. I think he's excellent. I'm sort of 50-50 on AD Mitchell, really. Talent's obviously that it's sort of same as Richardson. Talent's there, but is the mind there? Taylor, fair play to him. He's had an amazing year, but again, he was allowed to hold out for the first few weeks of the seasons and walk around wearing a hoodie, acting like. And his agent was all over Twitter.
Yeah,
this is just a mess of the Colts. Like, how was that not sorted before the season?
Yeah, it goes back to your earlier point, mate, doesn't it? Of who's actually in charge.
Yeah.
You know, who's handling contracts, who's holding the paychecks almost, you know?
It'd be like one of them little desk toys, the little water bird, and it just boop, boop, and it's just like it's a yes and a no button, and it just boop, boop. But,
Look, I mean, I think you made a great point on AD Mitchell. That guy needs to do something on Sunday. His season has been filled with too much bad. And when you watch him, he's always open. His routes are as smooth as you like. But he has to do something on Sunday. You know, be it catch a touchdown or even reel in, you know, 6 or 7 for 70 or 80 yards. Like, just finish strong. And I genuinely believe Sunday will be the last time we see Buckner in a Colts uniform. He's gone. And he should be gone too, because we're just wasting his career.
Well, you look at it, Buck's gone. If you ask me, Kelly's gone. Obviously, retirement. I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Pittman went. And so that's 3 leaders. Anyone else?
Zaire?
Well,
does Zaire survive?
To be honest,
I don't think so.
He can go. Do you know what I mean? These are the players I'm talking about. Players I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Nelson's the one that scares me. If we lose Nelson, we go back 10 years on that line. Like, we lose our, you know, obviously really excited to see Tanner Bortolini come in more. The guy looks like a stud. But, you know, Ryan Kelly's longest tenured Colt. He's been a player that I'll really fondly think of, you know.
Yeah.
Great Colt. And someone who I think has always been as frustrated as fans have been about the quarterback carousel. He's been so public about that his whole career, about how he just wants to play with the same QB and, you know, get that kind of contingency plan almost. And yeah, I don't know. We've said it all episode, but change has to come, and whether it comes this year, we don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, unless you got anything else, mate, we'll call it a night.
Good, man. Yeah, all good.
Good. Thanks for everyone for watching, everyone joining in. It's been a long 1 hour, so if you made it this far, congratulations. But you've been tortured by the Indianapolis Colts all year, and you've also stuck with us. So thanks for watching, and see you all after the Colts. Hopefully, just don't embarrass us. That's all I ask. Just don't embarrass us. See you all later.